If you were to tell me the best free-to-play game of 2024 would come in the form of a knockoff Star Wars game, I wouldn't have believed you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am Remo Yes Man, and today I would like to talk about Star Wars Hunters because Star Wars Hunters is easily one of the best free-to-play games that I have played all year. I have literally been binging this shit all week, so now I feel like I'm qualified to talk about it. So let's get into it. Star Wars Hunters is an Overwatch-like free-to-play game with 4-man teams and characters from the Star Wars universe. Well, kinda from the Star Wars universe. Now let me explain. Star Wars Hunters is essentially the Gotham Imposters of Star Wars games. And when I say Gotham Imposters, I mean it, because you won't find any mainline characters from the Star Wars series in this game. Instead of Luke Skywalker or any other Jedi for that matter, you have J3DI. This guy is basically a Jedi droid. He's your essential Jedi archetype for this game. He can't necessarily use the Force, but he does have some super cool moves to dispatch his enemies. Instead of characters like Darth Maul or Darth Talon, you have Reeve. Reeve is actually one of my favorite characters because Reeve is your essential Sith archetype in this game, and she can use the Force, and she does have some cool moves to dispatch her enemies. Instead of Boba Fett or Jango Fett, you have Arentel. This guy is your basic bounty hunter archetype. He comes equipped with a flamethrower and a jetpack and 2 pistols. Instead of everybody's favorite Trandoshan Bosk, you have Char. Char is your basic Trandoshan archetype. He is a tank and he comes equipped with a scatter gun and some traps to immobilize his enemies, as he technically is a Trandoshan trapper. So in this game, you basically have 4-man teams with 3 different archetypes. You have your damage, your tank, and your support. Your damage is your essential damage dealer classes, nothing special, but your tanks are your tanky heroes that can tank a lot of damage, and a lot of the tanks can actually heal themselves. And you have your support, which are generally healers. Now, there's no real rule to how many archetypes you can have on a squad, so you might see a squad with 2 healers or 2 tanks, and if you see a squad with 2 tanks on it and you don't even have 1 tank, that's going to be an especially hard-fought battle. Oftentimes, depending on which characters people pick, I'll try to pick the archetype that's not picked, because especially if you're in rank mode and you go into rank mode and you don't have a healer but the other team does, that can be brutal on your team, right? And one thing I found is a lot of people don't like to run healers, but a lot of people actually do in this game, which is good. But generally speaking, in games like this, a lot of people don't actually like to run healer. I found when I'm playing in rank mode, it was actually easiest to rank up in ranked mode by just playing with the healer, so yeah, keep that in mind. Next, let's talk about game modes. As far as game modes go, the game modes seem to be on a weekly rotation, but they always seem to have some form of team deathmatch in the rotation. Now, all of the game modes are actually pretty short, less than 10 minutes in fact. A typical game pretty much lasts for 5 to 7 minutes, and if the game lasted for 7 minutes, that's actually kind of a long game. You essentially have your team deathmatch mode, which goes to 25 kills, and that's always pretty fun. But in addition, you also have King of the Hill, which is basically a big ass square where you want to pile as many players in it as possible, and you want to defend that square so your gauge fills up faster than the enemy teams. You also have the domination game mode, which is your essential A point, B point, C point, and the squad that controls the most points wins. And you know, in a typical game like Call of Duty or Battlefield, domination can actually go on for a long ass time. But in this game, it's less than 10 minutes. So it never becomes a slog to where you're wondering, when the hell is this match going to be over? Because it's always over before you know it. Star Wars Hunters also features an event mode as well as a ranked mode. Now, these modes are essentially just different playlists with one game type on rotation over and over again for a set amount of time. And these game modes do have exclusive rewards that you will unlock even if you're losing in the game. You will unlock these just by playing the game. Now, as far as the ranked mode goes in this game boasts one of the most fair ranked modes I've seen in any competitive shooter type game. Usually, in any competitive shooter, I always steer clear of the ranked mode because that's where you're going to find all the sweats at, and the game is just going to become a slog of a sweat fest at that point. But this game is actually way fair when it comes to the ranked mode. As long as you choose a balanced team, you'll be perfectly fine. Like I said, I've been able to ascend so far in the rank ladder just by playing healer because that's something that not a lot of players pick. But as long as you're on a perfectly balanced team, you'll do perfectly fine and you will win some games. And the way the rank mode works is once you start rank mode, you start climbing your way up the ladder from bronze tier 3 to bronze tier 1. Now, once you complete bronze tier 1, you get to chromium tier. I haven't made it past chromium tier, but that's my current disposition. Next, let's talk about some of the free-to-play elements. Now, being a free-to-play game, obviously the game has to make money somehow. So the game does come with a battle pass, and the standard price for the battle pass is $10. And when you buy the battle pass, it does offer you a playable character as soon as you buy it, which would be the bounty hunter in this case. And this character is exclusive to the battle pass, so keep that in mind. This game also throws you a bunch of free shit. A lot of it's cool, but some of it is bullshit like stickers and decals and shit you're never going to use. And others are cosmetic stuff for your character that you'll be happy to use. But those skins are actually few and far between because each character has a level gauge that goes to 25. Once you reach each corresponding level, there'll be a corresponding reward. Sometimes it'll be some useless shit, but this is where all the costumes are, so keep that in mind. Next, let's talk about characters. Now, when you start the game, you'll only have access to 1 to 2 characters, but as you play the game, you'll quickly unlock 2 more characters for a total of 4. Because the game features 4-man teams, it never wants you to be in a situation where all the characters you have access to have already been picked. So before you know it, you'll unlock 4 characters as long as you're just playing the game. Now, at first glance, when you look at a lot of the other characters, you'll see a price tag of 1,000 crystals. So you might figure, okay, I have to essentially pay 1,000 crystals. How much is 1,000 crystals? Well, 1,000 crystals is basically the equivalent of $10 in this game. It might seem that way at first glance, right? But there's actually this interesting mechanic in this game called a hunter's path. Basically, what the hunter's path is the game will select a random character for you to work towards, right? And so as long as you keep playing the game, you'll earn progress towards that hunter's path, whether you're winning or losing. And as you make progress on the hunter's path, the price of that character will go down. It'll keep going down and down the more progress you fill up on that hunter's path, to eventually the character will be offered to you at a massively discounted price, like 386 crystals, for example, which would be the equivalent of $3.86. But if you keep going down the hunter's path, eventually the character will be unlocked for free. So keep that in mind, guys, because that's something I didn't even realize until I had already unlocked several characters, because what I had done once I figured out the game was giving me discounts on characters by simply playing the game is I have bought the $20 crystal pack and I just kept working down the hunter's path of whatever character I was on. And eventually the game would offer me the character for something ridiculously cheap, like 300 crystals or 200 crystals, right? And I would take that, not realizing that if I simply just kept playing and kept going down the hunter's path, the game would have eventually offered me the character for free. I had already unlocked several characters by the time I realized that. But even then, the game is so much fun that I have no qualms about spending $20 on the game. Lastly, let's talk about platforms. Now, as far as Star Wars Hunters go, Star Wars Hunters is primarily a mobile game. But listen, it's actually also available on the Nintendo Switch, and you can also run it via emulator on PC. And I've heard people say that the emulator on PC is the superior way to run this game. But if the emulator is the best way to run it, then the second best way is definitely gonna be the Nintendo Switch. Now, why this game is not available on the Xbox as well as the PlayStation, and while it's not actually on the Steam store, it's completely baffling to me, because you would think that they're missing out on a fuck ton of money by not having it on those platforms. So I have no clue why it's not available on anything besides mobile and Switch and the PC emulator, of course. But I highly recommend this game because I've been having a blast. So anyway, guys, in conclusion, I've been having a fuck ton of fun with this game, and I actually think you should play it if you do own a Switch and you do have Switch Online. Give it a try, download it, try it out, see if you like it, because what the hell do you have to lose? Anyway, guys, thank you for listening to me ramble. The best thing you could do for me at this point is just to have a beautiful day. All right, guys, peace.